And joining me today is Mike Jones from the Athletic. And now is the day that we really dive into this and really assess who won and who lost. So, welcome again. You got me, and we didn't have Tony because we left him out because I know Tony didn't watch nothing about the draft.
Those old veterans, they don't like the draft because that means young guys coming up to take their jobs. So they don't pay attention to that stuff. So I'm not surprised. But hey, we're going to knock it out. We're going to take a deep dig into this and have a good time.
So Mike, jumping right into this, who was the biggest winners and losers in this draft? Because I looked at Chicago and they seemed to me like they got some needs on the offensive side of the ball. They got their quarterback, got another wide receiver. To me, they just made their team stronger. And then Baltimore, these are two teams I just kind of like throw out there. They seem like that they did a great job again. Baltimore seemed like they never missed, but from the weekend, who won and who lost?
Yeah, Chicago is a team that I almost felt like they couldn't lose. Everybody and their brother knew Caleb Williams was the guy, the one that was head and shoulders above. And then look, the wide receiver fell to them. It was perfect opportunity. You get a guy who was rated higher, much higher, and then he's going to be a difference maker, another security blanket. So yes, I think they did a great job as far as getting their franchise quarterback. And now between free agency and the draft and what they've been building, because look, their cupboard wasn't bare, they really are going to have a good supporting cast for him. Again, Baltimore, you're exactly right. They always seem to make smart picks. They definitely have a type that they're looking for. They get another edge rusher that they needed, the linebacker out of Penn State. But I felt like, and this is rare. It's we're not used to this. I thought that Washington had one of the best drafts in the whole league.
All right,
You
Mike,
know,
you got to say that again because some of the fans think that Washington had a terrible draft. They said that they missed on a lot of areas. They're going to love you right now by you saying that.
I mean, seriously, because I think that we're so jaded, and that we don't want to get our hopes up because we've seen so many promising picks that don't pan out, or they get hurt, or the owner meddles and turns him against his head coach. And it's hard for fans, I think, to trust and to enjoy what they're seeing unfold in front of them because of the history. So I tried to remind my buddy, because I've got a lot of a lot of Washington fans who are friends, family members, my dad, my brother, guy I played basketball with. You know, they're like, oh, but, and I try to tell them, look, the adults are running the show for a change. There is no Dan Snyder to mess this thing up. You've got a really talented quarterback who displayed growth every single year and actually had a better final season of college football than Caleb Williams did. And then what do? You go out and get a steal of a cornerback that out of Michigan that Nick Saban, who lost to Michigan, said that he was the best pound for pound football player in the whole draft. And you got him on your team now. Then you get a promising tight end, you get some pieces for your offensive line, you get a defensive tackle. They made picks that fill holes and also set them up for the future. It was just, there was no head scratching. Like, what are they doing? I was pleasantly surprised, and it wasn't just me. When I talked around, people felt like Washington had a really good draft. And again, we're not used to that. We're used to them reaching.
Not at
We're
all.
used to them overthinking. But so they're one of my winners. I also say that Philadelphia, and I know that we hate to hear that, but Philadelphia had a really good draft because not only did Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback, fall to them because they were trying to trade up to try to make sure they got the top corner. They didn't have to trade up. He fell to them because there was such a run on offensive players. And then they get one pick after another where they're trading back and getting extra picks and trading back and getting extra picks. They're making smart picks here and there. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a guy who should have gone much higher than what he did, but they loaded up and they made sure that next year they have 9 picks. So they had a really smart draft because they were taking care of now and they're also taking care of the future. So there are a few of the teams that I think were like really had strong drafts. Again, we hate it that it's in the division, but if there's any consolation, the Cowboys did not have a good draft and the Giants did not have a good draft.
And they
So,
needed to we because Washington has a lot of Dallas's former players, plus their coach, plus their other coach. So,
right.
I mean, they did not, to me, like you said, feel their roster to get better, and the Giants either.
Right, exactly. Dallas, I really just felt like, okay, yeah, you got a couple offensive linemen, which you need, but I didn't see a lot of difference makers on there. And look, they needed an impactful running back. I know they brought back
Ezekiel
Ezekiel Elliott
Elliott.
now, but I mean,
Come
there's
on,
not a lot of
Ezekiel Elliott. Why was his name even in the conversation of bringing him back to Dallas? Because one reason why they got rid of him is his lack of production.
right. So if you're going to bring him back, you use him as a goal line back, and that's it. Because he did lead the league in rushing touchdowns a couple years ago. His yards per carry were bad, but as far as short yardage situations, very good. But why did you not use a draft pick to get one of the top running backs in the draft? That's what they really needed to do there. And so I did not feel like they did a really good job. And as far as the Giants go, they could have gotten the quarterback with the number 4 pick. Now I know they wanted Drake May and they couldn't get up there to take him. For the Patriots were not interested in trading down, and so then they got a wide receiver who will be good. But then when you look at this, Daniel Jones is not the answer. I know that since they couldn't get a quarterback, they're trying to make sure that the cupboard isn't bare and that they give him a better supporting cast. But he's not the answer. And so you're going to be wind up looking for a quarterback again next year. And so that's why I felt like Dallas and the Giants didn't make themselves a whole lot better. So there's another win that makes Washington's really effective draft that much sweeter.
Yeah, hey Mike, the Giants are a train wreck right now with that team, and but a lot of people are upset a little bit about Adam Peters with that pick where he maneuver with the Philadelphia Eagles. You don't ever give your divisional people heads up, to get better and everything. And when they traded, I think it was their in the second round, their third pick, and and those two guys, Adam Peters explained it being that those two guys are friends, Howie Roseman. I don't care if I'm friends with you or not. I'm not going to help your team. And then what they got a safety. I think they needed a
Right.
safety. Cooper DeJean is the
That's
guy
it.
that they picked. Well, how do you see that panning out? Because they're a divisional rival, and for them to allow Philadelphia to move up to help them out, he explained it, but I'm not buying it because. But they got more picks, and for
Right.
Washington, that is the thing that I would probably look at is that this team needs so many holes filled that if they got more picks to do that, then it may be Philadelphia Eagles, your divisional rivals, but you got opportunity to put more rosters more people on this roster.
Yeah, I think that that's what they're looking at. I think when they came to the board at that point, that they weren't in love with the guys that they had there, but they had guys that were rated similarly that they said, okay, look, yeah, let Philly take this guy, but we can move back and get extra picks and get guys that are similarly rated on our board. I understand you don't like trading with your divisional opponents. You don't like helping those guys, but in their mind, they were like, well, if we get extra picks, like you said, we can fill some more needs. Now, for me, I felt like Cooper DeJean was a guy that was rated much higher. He couldn't help this secondary. You know what I mean? So
I'm with you, Mike.
that one was there, but I do understand they needed more picks, they had more needs, and so they were trying to go at it that way. And look, again, they got some quality picks, and quality players with those guys. We'll see how it plays out. Let's just hope that Cooper DeJean is not picking off, Jaden Daniels or making any plays against us. Hopefully, he disappears. And in the 2 times a year that they have to face off against him, so they can't look at him and be like, "Hey, that's the guy that you helped us get."
Yeah, I'm not the GM, but a lot of people are scratching their head. It's like you said in some of the picks. Offensive line was one of the key areas that the Commanders needed to get better. I mean, the left tackle is a much need here in Washington, and when they came to their second pick, did not pick that guy, offensive left tackle. And a lot of those tackles went early. You look at the draft overall, and the first round was mostly offensive players that people took, which is this is a surprise to a lot of people. But this was the year for the quarterback. You talk about the top 12, what's picks, what's 5 quarterbacks, and then you talk about the whole first round. It was a lot of offensive players to win. But for Washington not to address the offensive line, I mean, I know they got a guy in Brandon Coleman, but he's more of a tackle, but they're trying, well, a guard, and they're trying to spin it as he can play both, but he's a true guard. For them not to address the offensive line, head on after they picked their quarterback, were you surprised?
I was surprised. See, I was thinking that okay, look, they got a lot of picks. What was it, 6 picks in the top 100 that they had. I thought they were going to package and try to get back into the first round to take an offensive tackle. But they didn't want to give up picks. They wanted to keep accumulating picks. So it's going to be interesting to see there. Look, I mean, they have some guys that are coming back. Are they the answer? You know, you can't fix everything overnight, but they didn't want to reach on guys. Me myself, like I said, I thought they were going to trade up, but a lot of the top tackles were gone by then. Again, this guy, yes, Coleman, he played tackle, but he looks like he's best suited as a guard. But for them, they wanted to remain disciplined. They want to remain true to their board and not reach on anybody. So I guess again, everything else sounds like looks like we've got adults running the show. So I'm going to trust that they have a plan. And again, look, next year they're accumulating pieces. Next year, maybe they get that left tackle. Maybe there's a veteran. Now we saw Mekhi Becton just come off the market, go to Philly. Maybe there's somebody that gets cut. But again, you're fixing with a Band-Aid. I would have much rather have a young guy, that you can just put in right there and groom and be ready to go. But again, overall, they had a really good draft. And so we'll see how this pans out. But I do understand that was my one area that I wish they could have gotten the top tackle.
Hey, Mike, you're telling the fans to trust the process right now, right? Because
Yeah.
Lance Newberry, Adam Peters, they said that the guys that they picked in the draft was guys that fit what they want to do. They're their kind of character, all of those things that they, of course, are going to say.
Right.
But they've got some key players on there, like you said, the cornerback out of Michigan. He to me is one of the guys. He spoke well talking to him. He said that he is a leader. That's what the Washington Commanders wanted. They wanted true leaders. He said he's a winner. He wants to play more so in the inside slot, but they said that they're going to use him in various ways. And he said wherever they want to use him, he's going to do it. So I think that's one of the players that is probably going to surprise them. They got another tight end also,
Mhm.
because right now, that's a question mark. Also, Zach Ertz is going to be probably the guy that is the starter there. But you got Colt Turner, you got John Bates and Amani. Basically, those guys have not really panned out yet. Amani got hurt last year and was out, but Bates and Coleman really haven't stepped in. So for them to get another tight end probably was a good thing. I'm not for sure he was the guy because it was some other guys on the board at that point.
Yeah, this is the highest that they've drafted a tight end since the days of Fred Davis. Chris Cooley was a third rounder. Fred Davis was a second rounder. They have neglected that position. They've used band-aids and low round guys at that position. But the tight end, as we see in Kansas City, as we see other places in San Francisco, the tight end is the best friend of your young quarterback. So I was glad to see them invest there in the tight end position, get a high guy. Now look, Zach Ertz might still have some left in the tank, but he has been around for a little while. So I think that it's good that you have a veteran and you have a young guy because the young guy can learn from him. Look, maybe see them run a lot of two tight end sets, things like that, and then eventually this guy moves into the lead role. We'll find out. But you have to in this day and age got to have an athletic, game-changing tight end, because those guys can create so many mismatches with what they're able to do, whether they line up coming off the line, whether they line up in the slot, whether they split out wide, whether they're used as a run blocker. So they had to, and they went for a quality tight end instead of just waiting and getting somebody as a undrafted free agent.
Yeah, Ben Sinnott from Kansas City. But were you surprised about Luke McCaffrey? You know, his brothers up in San Francisco. Hopefully, they will have similar. You know, the father was a good player.
Right.
So, I mean, when they drafted Luke McCaffrey, they had other big time receivers still on the board. For them, again, they said that they took the guy that basically what they wanted as far as the character and all that. But would you have drafted Luke McCaffrey?
Yeah, because this is the thing. You have Terry McLaurin and you have Jahan Dotson, who those will be your outside guys. Then you have McCaffrey, who, is really a slot guy. So I think that he will complement them well. Also, Cliff Kingsbury is a very creative guy. You're going to be able to move him around in a lot of different ways. And I think that they were looking for what we saw with all these guys are guys who are really, they're not just playing football because of the check. This is a guy who grew up in a football household. His mother was an athlete as well. He knows what it takes to prepare himself, to work hard, and to compete. You know, is he going to be Christian McCaffrey? Probably not, because there's only one Christian McCaffrey. But we know that he's got the bloodlines. Ed McCaffrey was a guy that was a really good, solid player that complemented guys like Shannon Sharp and the other weapons that they had there in Denver, and before that in San Francisco. So I think that Luke McCaffrey is a good guy to have. I think he's going to be able to help you in a variety of ways. And again, we just need to see them get guys in the locker room that have that winning mindset, that have the football and nothing else, not be distracted, not having to wonder if they're going to prepare themselves. This is a guy who's going to do that, and I think that I just think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be in his bag. He's got two really good wide receivers in Dotson and McLaurin, and here's another one that will complement them well. And again, like we talked about the tight ends, and then they have versatile running backs as well. So this offense, it looks like Jaden Daniels is going to have a lot of guys that he can work with and to distribute the ball to, so it's not all just on him having to make something out of nothing.
Hey, Mike, I think that you hit it on as far as those guys being able to get in there. They're hungry. Talking to them, this past weekend after they were drafted, they said all the right thing. You could tell the energy is back with this team from the coaching staff. And like you said, Kingsbury and what he's able to do with the quarterbacks and with his offense, given that he has pretty much a lot of the tools, although maybe not the offensive line, but he has other tools around. So I think that all these guys, as far as the locker room, from the old guys to the new guys, you finally got a blend of guys, to me, that is going to take this team in a new direction with all the coaching and all of that. So when you look at the Commanders overall, on the offensive side of the ball, how would you grade them right now? And the defensive side of the ball, to me, just got a lot better, because I don't know why they drafted a defensive tackle, because they were set there. But, for the depth reason, injuries and all of that, I'm going to understand that. And, with the guys that they signed in free agency, Chin and Wagner and all of
Fowler.
those guys right there, a list of them at the linebacker position. And I can go all the way down. The cornerback position was probably one with the question marks, but where did they get better? I mean, for the most part, you look at the offensive side of the ball. How do you see that side, and how do you see the defensive side?
Yeah, I definitely think obviously the offense got better because you got your quarterback, you got some, some targets for him as well, some interior alignment. Again, the tackle position, we'll see. They do have some guys. Look, maybe it's a better scheme fit for some of those guys that they stuck with there. We'll see, but they definitely are better, I think, depth wise as well. As far as their defense go, yeah, drafting a defensive tackle surprised me a little bit, but we know that in this league, you've got to be able to rotate guys. You need fresh guys. You need to send them in waves. And so if you have a rotation with John Allen and Deron Payne and this new kid here, that allows you to continue to put pressure on the defensive tackle position. I mean, on the quarterback at the interior line from the defensive tackle position. Now, would I have liked to see them maybe get a more highly regarded edge rusher to throw
Yes.
into the mix. Yeah, but again, the thing is you only have so many picks to go around. They do have some guys on that roster that are probably champing at the bit for the opportunity here. And again, I think we have to remember you can't fix everything all in one year, but if you can take steps little by little, you're adding this to the puzzle. And okay, this team is better than what it was. The roster a couple years ago was pretty good. It really deteriorated over the last 2 years, but I think that Adam Peters has put them back in a position where you see promise, you see some holes getting filled. And again, are they going to go undefeated? No. Are they going to be better than 500? I don't know. I hope so, but they might not be. But again, it's a
See,
process. We'll have to see how it plays out.
hey, Mike, before I let you go, you got to talk to me a little bit about Jaden Daniels to end this. Adam Peters said that he takes the soul of the defense. I mean, that's going to be a saying that we're going to use all season long. But for him to say that he takes the soul, we know he's got the speed, we know he's got the strong arm, but for him to say he takes the soul of a defense, hopefully he could do that in the NFL. But your assessment to finish this up, on the quarterback that they picked.
Okay, look, Nick Saban, who doesn't heap praise on anybody, said that he sees similarities between him and Lamar Jackson. Now that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, but here's what he's able to do. He's able to distribute ball. He's an accurate passer. He's probably a better passer right now than what Lamar Jackson was coming out. Okay. Lamar Jackson has exceeded expectations. He's grown as a passer. But Jaden Daniels has, a really good arm. He's got good anticipation. He is growing and he's going to continue to grow. But also the pressure that he's able to put on defense, if everything seems like it's breaking down, if all his guys are covered, he will find an opening and he'll take off. And that's the thing that really, when a defense, the secondary, they're holding up in coverage and they just need their guys up front to get a stop. And then this guy squirts out of your backfield. Think how many times we've seen Washington go against running quarterbacks. And it's gut punching when you see you're almost to the quarterback, he gets away, he extends the play and makes a throw downfield, or he takes off running, and there's nothing you can do to account for him. You can have a linebacker spy on him, but he doesn't have the same type of quickness and speed like your quarterback does. So when you have a guy who's not just going to sit back there like a statue and he's going to take off and run, but he also has just a lightning fast, quick reflexes that's going to make him hard to catch. That's the pressure you want to put on defenses from all kinds of different ways, with his arm, with his legs. So then they have to think for half a second, okay, do we rush? Do we stay to try to contain? What do we do? So I think that, look, they've got to put him in position to succeed. They've got to find what he does best, put this offense around him, make him as comfortable as possible. But he does have all the tools that you need. We'll see as far as like durability, because he's not the biggest guy. But from everything I saw, he doesn't seem like he takes a lot of big hits, just like Lamar Jackson doesn't take a lot of big hits because he's so fast. So if he can be smart, because everybody's like, oh man, RG3 didn't know how to slide. If Daniels can be smart and know how to protect himself while picking his spots, Washington's offense could be dangerous.
Yeah, Mike Jones from the Athletic said that the Washington Commanders, who's one of the teams that had a good draft pick class, and it's wait and see for this. I think that Kingsbury and these new coaches for the Washington Commanders is going to really put this team in a good position to move forward. Something that we haven't seen or talked about in a long time, but as they always say, wait and see. But Mike, we got to get you back on here when I guess Tony is back, so that we could talk about, as we head into OTAs and, training camp will be here before you blink your eye. We're going to see if this Commander team can be better. One fan told me that there's going to be 10 wins. I was like, oh, let's not jump ahead of ourselves because you're putting a lot of pressure not only on the quarterback, but this team in general. So, Mike, as Tony always say, we don't say goodbye. We say in the minutes.